Myth and legend in Sahasara chakra. The crown chakra is the seat of myth, mysticism, and prophecy. Every culture has honored visionaries, those who saw beyond illusion, who spoke of unity, who insisted that we are more than bodies surviving. But empires have always feared vision. It exiled the mystics, it burned the witches, it dismissed the prophets, and yet visions endured. Sahasara reminds us that connection cannot be erased. The thousand petals bloom anyway. Julian of Norwich represents mysticism in the time of the plague. In the 14th century, Julian of Norwich lived through plague and collapse. She entered visions of divine love so radiant that she wrote, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of thing shall be well." And this was not naive optimism, it was radical defiance. Julian spoke of God as mother at a time when the church insisted on father alone. She insisted love was the ground of being, even when death and despair filled the streets. Julian teaches that Sahasara is trust and unity, a refusal to let empire define what divine is. Rumi, the Sufi poet, wrote of love that dissolved separation. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Born in the 13th century in Persia, Rumi's teachings were rooted in movement, music, and longing for union. All of you have heard poems by Rumi. He spun poetry into whirling dance, turned grief into devotion. His visions remind us that Sahasara is not escape, it's ecstatic presence. It's finding the sacred in longing itself. I write poetry myself, and I feel like it can be such a cathartic way to find your own connection to your feelings, to each other, to the world. Rumi teaches that the divine is not confined to temples or text, but it's felt in the pulse of connection that runs through all of us. Harriet Tubman. Harriet's visions began after a childhood head injury. It was something with a horse. I don't know if she fell off the horse or got kicked by a horse. I don't remember. I should have looked that up. But she slipped into trances and dreams and moments of altered consciousness that she understood as divine messages. Empire called it delusion, but Harriet trusted her visions. Her visions became her compass. They told her when to move, when to wait, which path to take under the cover of night. She used them to guide herself and all of the others north, leading hundreds of enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. If that's not divine, I don't know what is. This is Sahasara in action. The crown connection, not as luxury, but as survival, not as escape from suffering, but as a map through it. Harriet Tubman's visions defied empire's lie that God sanctioned slavery. She knew otherwise. She saw God as liberation, as a divine force in her marrow, saying, go, trust, lead. To honor Harriet Tubman is to honor crown as prophecy, a sight that refuses distortion, connection that liberates others. Her Sahasara was not a halo in the clouds, it was a lantern in the night. We need a lot more Harriet Tubman energy these days, don't we? So Tubman teaches that vision is not luxury. It's prophecy, it's compass, it's crown connection as revolution. I have one more for you, Audre Lorde. Audre Lorde is the Black feminist poet, called herself Black, lesbian, mother, warrior poet. She wrote that poetry is not a luxury, it is survival. As someone who uses poetry to process my feelings, because I told my therapist years ago that I didn't like journaling. She asked what I did like to write. I told her poems, and she told me that was my therapy, and it has been a lifesaver for me. I adore Audre Lorde. She's one of my favorites. Her visions came as words that became movements, prayers, and revolutions. She taught, quote, when I dared to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Audre Lorde's crown was not detached transcendence. It was fire, flesh, courage, care, braided together. She saw wholeness in difference, connection in struggle, unity without erasure. Audre Lorde teaches us that Sahasara is the poetry of survival, the vision that says, I am whole, and in my wholeness, I connect us all. Women have power and collective vision. Across time, women's visions have been dismissed as madness, hysteria, delusion. But from Julian to Rumi, from Harriet to Audra, indigenous grandmothers dreaming the world back into balance, to modern prophets refusing silence, the thousand-petaled lotus keeps opening through women's bodies, women's voices, and women's power. This is the thread of Sahasara, vision that cannot be erased, wholeness that cannot be taken, and connection that cannot be silenced. So whisper it to yourself now. I'm not separate. I'm already whole. My vision is alive. I'll see you out here on the path.